Good morning, I'm Councillor Tristan Lewis and I am Vice Chair of the Council. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's meeting, which is a multi-location meeting. The meeting will be live streamed and recorded and will be available for viewing after the meeting. Should the live stream fail, the meeting will continue and the recording will be available through the Council's website following the conclusion of the meeting. Can I remind members that translation facilities are available? If you want to make use of this facility, please select the English language option on the microphone delegate unit if you're in the Council chamber. And for those attending remotely, please click on the audio settings tab and select English. For those wishing to speak in the Council chamber, please press your microphone push to speak button, which is located at the bottom of the microphone console. Similarly, for those attending remotely, please press the push to speak tab. Please do not use the yellow hand function. This should only be used if you want to come in with a point of order. Can I ask those attending this isn't relevant, apologies, this is for the separate committees, we're all in one big committee today. So to keep your place in the line of speakers, in the queue, leave your microphone on until you've received a response and ask any supplementary questions. It would be useful if all members asked all their questions at once. Although I don't want to stifle debate, I'd like to remind members that any questions should be pertinent to the matter at hand and they should avoid repeating. To those attending remotely, please note that those in the chamber will be unable to use the chat facility. Remote attendees, if you do need to leave the meeting temporarily, pop a message in the chat function. I expect everyone present, taking part in the meeting today, to conduct themselves appropriately and respect each other. This is relevant for members, officers, and members of the press, or anyone in the public gallery as well. Item 1 is appointment of chair. I will now leave the chair because of an interest, so I'll propose for someone to ask for someone to propose a chair in my place for this item. Councillor Chris Cater.
I'd like to propose that Councillor Cheryl Dolman, as immediate past chair of the council, chairs this item for us this morning.
Thank you, Councillor Chris Cater. Councillor Charlie McCubry.
Please, thank you.
Thank you. So can I ask you to show, please, by raising your hands, that you're all in agreement with that? And online as well? Thank you. That is unanimous. Can I ask Councillor Sharon Dolman to come forward, please? Thank you.
Bore da, pawb. Good morning, everyone. The first item on the agenda is the appointment of chair. Could I ask if there are any nominations, please? Councillor Dilwyn.
Thank you, Chair. Can I propose Councillor Tristan Lewis, who is Vice Chair, as he is now, to be Chair of the Council? I'm aware that Tristan works hard in his community and beyond. He's been a county councillor since 2017 and also for the first 5 years a champion for the Welsh language and has done fantastic work in that role. We all know of his abilities as chair and as a speaker, but I will go through 1 or 2 points that you may not know about him. One of those, the fact that he has great responsibility as being one of the trustees of the National Eisteddfod. He also sits on the management board, and Tristan was also chair of the executive, the work committee of the Eisteddfod that was organised in 2019 in Llanrwst for Conwy County. It was a fantastic Eisteddfod, and although it did turn wet, everything did run smoothly. Tristan works very hard in his community, as I've said. He has a wide range of interests. We all know about most of them, but you may not know if anyone wants to know anything about a David Brown tractor, this is the man to ask. To finish, there is a saying in Welsh which is used, and I think this is very pertinent to Tristan, a saying that's used very often when someone is confident in their work and goes through that work and deals with that work as someone would wish for the chair of Conwy County to do. It's used as a saying of commendment, and I think this is very suitable for Tristan. He'll do the job while singing, is the literal translation. So, Chair, if I may propose Councillor Tristan Lewis as Chair of Conwy Council, I'm very happy to do so. Thank you for your time.
Cynghorydd Dilwyn. Councillor Kay Redhead.
Yeah, for all of those reasons, I second Councillor Tristan. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Okay, thank you. So we have Councillor Tristan Lewis nominated for chair. So we will now open the vote, please, Mr. Jones. Okay, we can now close the vote, please, Mr. Jones. Diolch. Thank you. Well, llongyfarchiadau.
Congratulations, Councillor Tristan.
The chair. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you all, fellow councillors, for the privilege of this post. There is no board on the wall at the moment, but in Bodlondeb there was a board naming the chairs, and I know that there were some giants on that board, and I will do my utmost. Please, Berwyn.
Mi fydd 'na gyfnod pan o'dd
There was a period when Councillor Austin was a boss, was my boss, but there's another saying, he will be the servant and I will be the master. Literally.
Dyna ni, dyn ni'n disgwyl i ti wisgo hwnna i'r sêl.
And we expect you to wear that in the market, the livestock auction. Councillor Jeff Stewart wants to speak.
Chair, and my congratulations to both. I'd just like to record that I did vote, but it didn't come through in time. It wouldn't operate, and I wouldn't like to carry the responsibility of Austin having seen that I didn't vote. You know, may I record it, please? Thank you. Thank you, Austin. Cheers.
Then any
There we go. Thank you. Thank you all. So item 3, apologies for absence. And I'm going to ask Sally. Sally is online. Apologies from Councillor Ros Griffiths-Williams.
diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much, Sally. The audio wasn't very good, but I think we've all understood.
Oh, Cyfle.
Dyna ni. Unrhyw ymddeiriadau eraill?
Any other apologies? Councillor Louise Emery. Thank you. Apologies for Tom Montgomery. Apologies for Councillor Tom Montgomery. Thank you.
Apologies from Penny Ando and Mandy Hawkins.
Dyna ni.
Fantastic. Thank you. Everyone happy then? Okay, we'll move on to item 4. Declarations of interest. And can I remind members that they must declare the existence and nature of their declared personal interests. So, Councillor Abdul Khan.
Diolch, Chair. Can I just congratulate you on your appointment as the chair and their servant over there, Mr. Austin Roberts. We wish you both well. And it's item 14 under the second home, Chair. My interest. Diolch.
Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Thank you. Councillor Sian Grady.
Thank you. I take this opportunity to congratulate yourself and Austin very well. And I also second homes number 14, and I'll be leaving the room. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you. Councillor Gail Jones.
Yes, item 14, second homes.
Cynghorydd Sian.
Could I declare a prejudicial interest in item 14, second homes? I'll be leaving the room. Thank you, Chair.
Cynghorydd Jacob Williams.
I'd like to show an interest in item 14 as well.
Dyna ni. Cynghorydd Keith Eales ar-lein.
Diolch yn fawr. Congratulations on Chair and Vice Chair to Tristan and Austin. I'd also like to declare an interest in item 14.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you. Okay, there we are. We have no more wishing to speak, I don't think. So can I transfer now to Matt Georgiou?
Yeah, Chair, just to be clear, I'm understanding that those were declared as both personal and prejudicial interests. If I'm wrong about that, could any of the members who've declared just indicate? Appears not. And also, Chair, you yourself declared a personal interest in item 1, and we'll also note that, Chair, in the minutes.
Diolch.
Thank you very much, Matt. So we'll move on to item 5, urgent matters. I'm not aware of any urgent matters. So we'll move on to item 6, minutes of the council. The minutes are included for to ensure that they're correct only, and the first is 10th of July 2025, pages 4 to 9. Can I ask please for a proposer and a seconder that they're correct?
Cynghorydd
Councillor Abdul, thank you. And Councillor Aaron Wynne, seconding. Can I ask you then please to show by raising your hands?
Rhywun yn erbyn?
Anyone against? Okay, thank you. Those have been confirmed. Moving on to the 28th of August 2025, pages 10 to 11. Can I ask again for a proposer, please? Councillor Nia, thank you. And the seconder? Councillor Aaron, So can I ask you in the usual way to show, please, by raising your hand if you're agreed? Anyone against? Thank you. Those have been confirmed. So item 7, to receive any announcements. I'll ask first of all for the leader, Councillor Julie, to speak.
Diolch, and congratulations, Tristan. Excellent appointment, and congratulations to Councillor Austin as well. Another excellent appointment. So I'm going to take this opportunity. I don't have anything else to share with you today, really, other than I want to give my cabinet members an opportunity to share with you a little bit about who they are and what they hope to bring to the role. I'm very happy. I've been in this position now. Am I just coming up 3 weeks in? And I'm very happy with the start that we've had with the cabinet. Councillor Mike Priestley isn't here today. You've heard his apologies given before, so he will take the opportunity at the next council meeting to tell you a little bit more about himself and what he hopes to bring to the portfolio. So I will hand over then to my cabinet to share that information with you, and perhaps if we start with Councillor Chris Cater. Diolch.
Thank you very much, and congratulations from me as well to the new chair and the new vice chair. Yes, so my portfolio is finance and strategic planning. I've represented my Penryn ward since 2004 as independent. Many of you will know I'm past chair of the planning committee and also democratic services. And I've been fortunate to be a cabinet member since 2019. Basically, Leader Julie has swapped my audit, procurement and performance remit with finance. So hopefully I can draw on my experience in dealing with all the services in the corporate context. Chairing the service performance reviews and formulating the corporate plan, as well as being involved with presenting audit reports, hopefully gives me useful knowledge and understanding. To be frank, as we continue to deal with a seriously financially challenging situation in local government. I come from the private sector, having owned and run a veterinary practice for 30 years. The staff were my responsibility. Paying the VAT, business rates and PAYE was my responsibility. I know about the burden of taxation in many different contexts, but I also fully appreciate the vital work and support this council gives our whole community in Conwy, and particularly to the most vulnerable. We need to be in a strong position to deliver our strategic vision and long-term outcomes. Hence, for example, the budget working groups that I'm now chairing, they have begun. So we'll be examining effective models for service delivery, key financial pressures, demand, where possible cost avoidance, opportunities for savings and income generation, and underlying it, the workforce data that we have. Turning to strategic land use planning, that's the RLDP, that's still in my remit. Council approved in July to undertake an 8-week consultation period on the deposit plan. At present, translation is taking place of all the many evidence papers, assessments, and the RLDP written statement itself. The electronic response system is being finalised to enable stakeholders and residents to make their formal comments. And there's a lot of printing going on because documents will be made available in community settings and at the council offices. I can assure members this morning that community drop-in sessions are being arranged across the county borough plan area. Details will be made in advance to all councillors via informal and formal processes. I must emphasise that regulations govern the statutory consultation and the process must pass the test of soundness. So it is important we get this process correct before examination next year. So you'll be hearing a lot more from me about that. When I presented to council once before about my portfolio, I had community support service and community engagement in my portfolio. And I remember Councillor Penny Andow, who unfortunately is not here today, she said I was the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't think I'm the light at the end of the tunnel any longer. I leave that to some of my other cabinet colleagues. That's it from me, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr, Cynghorydd.
Thank you, Councillor Chris.
Thank you, Chris. And over to Councillor Sharon.
Thank you, and I have been appointed as Cabinet Member for Sustainable Economy and Communications. Much of my working life for over 30 years was in marketing and communications. I worked for the Daily Post, an Echo newspaper group, for 23 years in a commercial role. But obviously that meant a great understanding in the communications, the editorial, engaging with our readers. So I learnt my craft right from the very start. I went into the role as a receptionist and I was general advertisement manager when I retired from that role. I was always based in North Wales and for many years had special responsibility for business and for local authority campaigns. Back in the days when it was Clwyd and Gwynedd counties and we had lots of borough councils. I had Aberconwy, Colwyn Town Council and all the other councils all through North Wales to look after, which I thoroughly enjoyed. But newspapers moved on and I left. I took my redundancy in 2008 and I was fortunate enough to be offered a role in the Welsh Government as a marketing and communications manager, initially for education, which was very, very interesting work. I was responsible for the communication and marketing of some really interesting pieces of work. Make the new children's advocacy service. I was there from the inception, actually chose the name for it. That was brilliant and that campaign is still running to this day. I was also responsible for the school's breakfast, free breakfast when that started. The anti-bullying campaign and lots of other campaigns as well. They were the sort of ones I particularly enjoyed. I was seconded into the business and economy department for 12 months and again was lucky enough to work on high profile campaigns such as enterprise zones in Wales, the Traws Cymru Transport, Cardiff Airport and many other very interesting pieces of work. I retired from Welsh Government in 2017 and at a bit of a loose end after 10 days or 2 weeks. I decided to become much more involved in my community of Glanconwy, where I've lived all of my life in the same house, actually. So I was asked to become secretary of the church, and with that, brought lots and lots of opportunity for community cohesion. So we started a pantomime group for children in Glanconwy, called Pobl Llan. We're not the best singers, Tristan, but we try our best. I don't sing, I make the tea. Coffee hub in the church and just generally trying to pull the community together. And that is my passion, really, engaging with people and to try and include people in things, not to just have little groups, but to bring that cohesion together. We have children from Ysgol Glanconwy joining the older people on a Wednesday for Coffee Hub, and I think that is really important, cross-generational. In my new role, I strive to be, firstly, a good ambassador for Conwy, which I did try to be a good ambassador for Conwy in my previous role as chair of Conwy Council. I want to ensure that I'm working for residents and making informed decisions, taking a view of the whole situation and make informed decisions that will benefit communities and the residents of Conwy. My passion is obviously communications, and I hope to bring to that role a structured way of communicating with our residents some of the excellent good news stories that we have coming out from Conwy that are sometimes forgotten about or they don't always make it. to the attention of our residents, and in particular some of the wonderful good news stories we've heard this week from the UK Prosperity Fund. Some of the outcomes from that have been absolutely fantastic, having an impact on a huge number of people and communities and businesses as well. So that is what I would see as my role, promoting those good news stories as well. So diolch, thank you.
Diolch, Cynghorydd Sharon.
Thank you, Councillor Sharon.
Excuse me. Yes, thank you, Sharon. And on to Kay. Diolch.
Thank you, Leader. Firstly, congratulations to both of you on your new roles. It's great to have you at the helm. So for those that may not have come across me yet, my name's Kay Redhead. I'm a ward member for Kimnel Bay and was elected to this role in 2022. I've been a town councillor since 2017. So it's a real privilege to have the children's and safeguarding portfolio. I've advocated for the rights of children and vulnerable people for as long as I can remember. I've got quite a lot of experience in this sort of role. I've been a school governor for the last 17 years, taking on the lead for safeguarding, children looked after, additional learning needs, all of that area. I've studied children's studies at college for 3 years, gaining a level 3 diploma, and I've worked in the healthcare sector for the last 7 years, supporting vulnerable adults, and I've also gained my level 2 qualifications while I've been doing that. So as well as having a professional background and training that I think makes me right for this role, I've also got lots of lived experience that I feel helps me in this role. I've been through the homeless process and I live in an area of high deprivation. So in my ward, there's lots we can't sing and shout about, but we have little successes, and I think I'm going to be able to bring that into this role. You know, it's great to be able to celebrate our successes and let our public know what we're doing, but in the role that I've taken on, we can't do that. They're wins that we celebrate privately. But I know we'll be doing a good job. I've worked previously with the youth justice system, with child exploitation teams, the youth council, disabilities team, the family centres, education services. I've got 5 children myself, and in the area that I live, you know, in the past few years, I've delivered a baby with a vulnerable mum. I've been there with the death of another young mum. So I feel I can bring lots of experience to this role from both perspectives. And I know I'm working with a fabulous team. So I'd just like to thank Julie for giving me this opportunity and having faith in me. Thank you.
Diolch, Cynghorydd Kate.
Thanks, Kay. And Hannah, thank you.
Thank you, Julie. So I'm proud and privileged to take on the portfolio for Okay. So within the Integrated Adult Services section, we'll be looking at specific social care capital projects. We've recently had the success of one in Nant and Bryn Erin nurseries, and we are looking to have an extra care housing programme developed in Colwyn Bay, linking with new partners. So we'll be linking with the college as well as health in that area. With the community wellbeing team, the disability services, our older people and hospital social work, our re-enablement team, quality standards and commissioning, and supporting our carers. Within human resources, we'll be looking at recruitment and wellbeing of our staff and equality and diversity. And with these roles, I also become the poverty champion and the equality and diversity champion. And I hope I can not let anyone down in that area, because they're extremely important roles there that I'm honoured to have been given. So we have an excellent team. They're recognised as sector leading in many areas, and I will be shouting about their successes wherever we can. Like Kay, there will be some areas where we can't shout. We'll celebrate privately, but there's much of good stuff going on there. And having met many of the managers of that area, I'm so impressed by the work that goes on in Conway for our residents. So a bit about me. My name's Hannah Fleet. My children, my parents-in-law, all are in the county or have died recently in the county. That I'm in my 4th year as a county councillor here, and during that time I've been the Chair of Education and Skills. I am a town councillor, so I've represented Llanfyllin and Rose and the Rose ward on town council for 9 years now, and I was recently the mayor, which was a real honour and a privilege to wear a fancy chain, but also to meet the amazing people and so many of the volunteers that benefit our community. So my background is mostly as a science teacher and a school leader. In fact, my family is very boring. I'm married to a teacher, my parents are teachers, my brothers are teachers, they're married to teachers. We also have a bit of healthcare going in there as well with some of the other relatives. So I've worked, as well as a long time in education and leadership in education, I've worked for a national parenting charity. So I've worked with a lot of parents and parents-to-be in this area. I've been director of companies which have focused on environmental education, and also one that focused on supporting those who are living with brain injury. I've been that usual mum with mug written on her forehead. So I've served to support and then ended up taking over a toddler group. I've been the treasurer for the play group. I've been active within the school as a school governor, both as a parent and now as a councillor. Within the community of Rose-on-Sea, I've developed the dementia-friendly Rose-on-Sea group and Friends of Rose-on-Sea, and they work with a range of volunteers to improve the lives of our residents with monthly activities such as litter picks. We have our monthly mix and mingle meetup, which helps tackle isolation, and during the winter we've run warm hubs. Like many of you, I have supported residents and family members when they've needed our social services for support. So I've been at the receiving end as well as the administering end. And there's 3 things I want to focus on there. It's the prevention. So prevention, fairness and resilience. So with prevention, we need to strengthen our communities. We need to build the resilience of those communities. We need healthy residents, and we need to be able to intervene early. Without that early intervention, we end up with increasing inequality. Without supporting those affected by poverty, that increasing inequality then leads to increasing need, and that need is expansive. So the early intervention is not somewhere where we can cut corners, it's where we need to focus. And as a council, we do that through all our departments. It's not just the remit that is within my portfolio. Fairness, so making sure that all residents get the support they need, and we prevent factors such as poverty from getting in that way. And I've touched already on that inequality. Resilience. We have many innovative and creative ways of looking at supporting how we support our residents and how we can link together what's going on within our authority to do that. And for our workforce, it's about training our talented staff and growing our own, which has been particularly successful in the social work area. And I'd like to see that work and that example continuing and hopefully being used in other departments as well. Also that use of apprenticeships as well to be able to bring a strong and happy supported workforce here that can continue the excellent work that's gone on there in these very difficult and challenging times. And I just applaud our staff because they're out there on the front line doing the grafting and okay, I think I'm back. So just how absolutely fantastic our staff is, and thanks to every single one of them. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr, Cynghorydd Anna.
Thanks, Hannah. And apologies for the sound system. Excuse me, I know the team are working on it with the providers, and hopefully we'll have some progress on that in time. Okay, Cynghorydd Aron. Diolch.
Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, Tristan, and you as well, Austin. I've been appointed Cabinet Member for Education. My responsibilities include the Education Department and schools, the Sustainable Learning Communities Scheme, ALN, Additional Learning Needs, school transport, and the Welsh and Education Strategic Plan. The portfolio also includes the youth services and IT services as well, just so everyone's aware of all of that, although it's not part of the title. Obviously, I have a great deal to get my head around over the next few weeks. I am truly looking forward to working with Dr. Lowry and her team, and Hugh and his team in IT as well. Following half term, I'll be sending a letter out to all head teachers in the county presenting myself. I expect many head teachers will want to discuss or meet with me after receiving the letter, and I will be sure to try and organise those meetings as soon as possible. A great deal of us here today are school governors, and we're all acutely aware of the challenges facing schools at the moment. But of course, our teachers, school staff and head teachers are doing fantastic work and offering the best education for our young people. And I'm looking forward very much to working with them and supporting them in my new role. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Aaron.
Yeah, diolch Aaron. Over to you, Councillor Stephen, please.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations on your appointment, and also to Austin. And I notice you're wearing a tie today. I'll just give you a brief background to myself. It's actually a great honour to serve as County Councillor for Mockja, and equally a great honour to serve on the Cabinet for Conwy County Council. I started my working life at the age of 13 working for the Blands at the St Tydno Hotel in Llandudno, and then moved on to Quinton Hazel in Mockja, and then moved to London and worked as a civil servant in the Metropolitan Police Company Fraud Squad, SO6. But London can be a very, very lonely place to live, so I decided to move back to North Wales, spent a brief time with VAT Enforcement and Customs and Excise, and then moved on to university at Wrexham. From there I worked for Ipsos Murray. I did the surveys in the 1997 general election from Chester all the way up to Anglesey, so I knew we'd won before the election result had even been announced. In 2003, I worked for a company called Reflex Allen in Bodelwyddan, who at the time were the biggest manufacturers of pneumatic tubing, which is the air brake systems on HGV lorries. So you can't imagine that a company that makes 50% of the world's production was actually based here in Bodelwyddan in North Wales. During that time, I also went to China, training people how to do extrusion process. And also during that time, I became a union rep and got my membership up from 50 to over 120, and negotiated with the company to recognise the unions and then do a facilities agreement. And I also supported the members during the furlough scheme, and was invited by the BBC to do an interview as well on the furlough scheme. I also did quite tough negotiations for the pay review, which I think believe resulted in one of the highest pay rewards ever rewarded by that company. In 2020, I was elected to Colwyn Bay Town Council, and in 2021, I became a community councillor for Mockja, and then went on to be the county councillor in 2022. I've also been the chair of the TGB, which oversaw the amalgamation on one site for the schools in Mockja, which has secured the schools for the foreseeable future. I'm also chair of the Mockja Playgroup, which has just had a excellent award from Estin, and I'm also on the board of directors for Pigtown Theatre, which is a local social media, or they do a lot of podcasting, so if you ever need to do a podcast, I'm the man to speak to. It's a great honour to serve on the council, and I'd like to thank Katie Club for a very, very warm welcome that she's given to me, and I'd also like to thank Emily, who has done an absolutely fantastic job in the portfolio that she previously held. and I very, very much hope to preserve that achievements. And I look forward to working with the team. I would like to focus on early intervention. I think the meeting I had yesterday with Councillor Sherrill and Councillor Gale and the police force to move that forward, and I think we made some initial breakthrough in having a cohesive approach to that. On audit, I've been Vice Chair of Audit for over the past 3 years. I have a very good working relationship with Ian White, the Chair, and I also have a very, very good working relationship with the licensing team. They are a fantastic bunch, and licensing has been one of my favourite committees, especially doing the subcommittees for licensing. I found them fascinating. And I've also been on planning since I was a town councillor at Colwyn Bay Town Council, and I hope to work really, really well with Paula and the team there as well. It's a great honour, and can I just say as well, after doing all that, I've achieved this by being profoundly deaf in my left ear and almost totally blind in my right eye. So thank you very much, everybody, and I look forward to working well with everyone. Thank you.
Diolch, Cynghorydd Stephen.
Yes, thank you, Stephen. And last but by no means least, Cynghorydd Dilwyn.
Gaina. And I also congratulate Tristan as chair and Austin as vice chair. And first of all, thank Councillor Julie for offering me the opportunity to sit on her cabinet. I was very glad to accept that honour. Most of you know my history. I left school at 15 to go home to work with my parents on the farm. And from that period of being a farmer, I'm sure it stems from that. I've had the opportunity to be a part of the Young Farmers Clubs, which is an organisation that's very close to my heart. And I got opportunities there to chair meetings and take part in various events. And it's something I've been very proud of all my life. And I'm sure the fact that I was working by myself much of the time gave me a great appreciation of the value of communities and being part of a community, being a part of events. And that's something that's stayed with me. And I say that because my portfolio that the leader has given me includes all of these types of things: leisure and culture, libraries, law and governance, including the Welsh language as well. And I've had the privilege over the past few years of being councillor for the rural area of Uwch Conwy, which has very special communities up there. And since I've been on the council, I came onto this council in 2004, and I've represented rural areas throughout my time. I also held the finance portfolio for a year in 2007. So I have an appreciation since then that we've had to do more with less every year. And I know how difficult that is. I also appreciate the responsibility that's on the leader, having been in that role for 2 full terms for 9 years. And I will give all my support to Councillor Julie. Hannah has already talked about prevention. And in that regard, I'm very proud to be the portfolio holder of the portfolio that I have. In many counties, the things within this portfolio are considered as efficiencies. I am absolutely against that 100%. I think it's all an investment, what's in my portfolio. An investment in maintaining the health, physical health, and mental health as a priority. So what I can say as well is that I'll be very ready and willing to speak with any councillors from any party who have any suggestions or concerns. My door will always be open for those discussions, and I will do my best. And although not everyone thinks that, I've had the experience of working here and with councils across Wales for a very long period of time. And as many have already said today, I'm very proud of our officers. I'm proud of the officers and the councillors that we have here. We're a council that's considered among the best in this country. And I'm sure we can continue in that regard. So thank you for the opportunity, Julie, and I will do my best. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Dillwyn.
Diolch, Dilwyn. So, yes, as you can see, I have a very strong and competent cabinet, and I look forward to us working together. And I would repeat what I said in council when you selected me as your leader, that my door will always be open to everybody from every party. And I'm more than happy to come to your wards if there's something you'd like to show me as the leader. And I've started, in terms of the communication, I know I said in my presentation, communication. I stand by that. I've met with the team. I will start putting together videos to put out shortly. And I will obviously share those with you. And I know that all of the cabinet are very open to engaging with all members of the council and obviously communicating with the public out there and working with our team. So yeah, very proud to lead the council and to lead that council with the cabinet who've presented to you this morning. So diolch cadeirydd. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much, Councillor Julie. And I'll invite the Chief Exec now to give an announcement. Thank you very much and congratulations to you, Councillor Tristan, and to Councillor Austin on your appointment. And I'm looking forward very much to working with you in the time to come. It's going to be a very busy period, and we appreciate the support that you offer us as officers.
For me, I think it would be odd if I didn't reference this, given that it came through a couple of weeks ago. So the council's been successful in winning the British Construction and Infrastructure Placement Project Award, which is a mouthful, but is also a very prestigious award in relation to the Colwyn Bay Phase 2B Rhosson C scheme. I think it was up against quite significant projects across the country. The list is quite spectacular, really. So in that sense, it's a real testament to the work the team have done. And I'd like to congratulate Geraint and the whole team. I've been down there a couple of times to meet them as the work was going on. And they're a great bunch. And clearly they've delivered quite a significant project that's been recognised nationally. So, llongyfarchiadau enfawr i'r team.
So, congratulations to the team. And I'm sure we'll all, possibly not today, it's a bit windy and wet today, but certainly over the summer period, it's had extensive use in Rhosson C. So thanks to the team. Thank you very much, Rhyn. So we'll move on to item 8 to answer questions and the council procedure rule number 14.2. I have no matters under that point. So we're moving on to item 9, Democratic Services Committee. And I'm going to invite Councillor Harry, Chair of the Democratic Services Committee, to present this item, which is on pages 12 to 16. Thank you, Councillor Harry.
Diolch, Cadeirydd, and congratulations on your appointment. Members will have seen that the minutes from the Democratic Services Committee meeting held on Monday, the 8th of September, are included within the agenda. There were 2 resolutions or recommendations from that committee that come to full council today. They're contained in minutes 253 and 254. The recommendation in minute 253, which relates to the review of the members' self-regulatory protocol, will be dealt with under a separate report, and I trust the cabinet member responsible for law and governance and the monitoring officer will take us through that. So the only recommendation I want to propose today is the one contained in minute 254, which relates to a response to a Welsh Government consultation on extending the duty on local authorities to broadcast meetings. So, Chair, if you're happy, I would like to make two proposals. First of all, that we note the minutes of the meeting, and secondly, that we adopt the recommendation contained in minute 254. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Harry. So, Councillor Harry proposed. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Gwennol, seconds. Thank you. So, we'll vote formally. So, can I ask Berwyn to open the vote, please? Has everyone had an opportunity to vote? Okay. So can I ask Berwyn to close the vote, please?
Dyna ni, mae hynny'n unfrydol 43.
There we go, that's unanimous. 43 in favour, thank you. And thanks, Councillor Harry. Moving on then to item 10, review of the members' self-regulatory protocol. And can I ask Councillor Dilwyn, the Cabinet Member for Culture, Leisure and Governance Services, to present this report on pages 17 to 43. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. I'm sure you've all read the report, but briefly I'll take you through it. Recently, the Public Services Ombudsman for Wales reviewed all local resolution protocols in Wales and shared advice from Council on their contents. And in response to this, the National Monitoring Officers Group established a small working group to review the issues. And this report, the report of the working group, takes the form of a checklist against which the local resolution protocols can be reviewed. And so the local resolution protocols, the Council's own local resolution protocol has been reviewed against that checklist, and suggested changes have been made for approval. On the 23rd of June this year, the Standards Committee recommended that the proposed changes to the Council's local resolution protocol should be adopted by the Council, and the Democratic Services Committee reviewed those changes on the 8th of September 2025 and recommend that they are adopted by the Council. Can I thank those two committees for their work, and also the officers, Matt and the team that have been dealing with this. Fantastic work, thank you. The recommendations then are, as we see them on page 38, that the LRP protocol, revised LRP protocol that's in Appendix C on page 38, is adopted in place of the current members' self-regulatory protocol in the Council's constitution, as you see in 2.1 there. So can I propose that recommendation in 2.1 on page 17? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Dilwyn. Councillor Dilwyn proposed then. Can we have a seconder, please? Councillor Austin. And if we have no other proposals, we'll open the vote.
Dyna ni, pawb wedi cael cyfle.
There we go, everyone's had an opportunity to vote. Can we close the vote, please?
A dyna ni, felly dyna'r canol.
And that's the result, 41 voted in favour. Thank you all.
Sorry,
I can't see from the side view.
Fedrwn ni ddim mynd yn...
We can't go back, but there was enough to carry it anyway. Okay, thank you.
Symud ymlaen felly.
Moving on then to item 11, which is the community reviews under the Local Government Democracy Wales Act 2013, initial draft proposals. And can I also ask, again, Councillor Dilbyn to present this report? Thank you, Chair. As previously reported to the Council on 22nd of May this year, Conwy County Borough Council has a statutory duty to undertake community reviews under sections 25 and 31 of the Local Government Democracy Wales Act 2013. At that meeting, Council approved the terms of reference and the timetable to undertake the above reviews. And the first stage of the review has been completed. So Council is asked to consider today the representations received and proposed changes to the arrangement of one community area and 3 wards to ensure that communities continue to reflect local identities and facilitate effective and convenient local government across the principal council area. If supported, these proposals would represent the council's preliminary views on the community arrangements for the principal council area. There is then another period of consultation on the draft proposals when further representation is invited following the consultation, and after which Council will be required to formulate its final recommendations. So this is a very important report. I'm sure you've read it. And I'll ask you kindly for guidance, Chair, in terms of the recommendations, how we should go about these following discussion. We may need to make 5 decisions or 4 decisions here. So thank you, Chair. Thank you. So if no one has any comments or questions, we will take 3 as they are, unless someone proposes something else. Councillor Chris.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to give my wholehearted support for the movement, the moving of the boundary between the Cragidon and Tidno wards, because it's always been an anomaly. I mean, I lived in Cragidon for 7 years, and the fact that Mice Cleared and the associated streets east of Clarence Crescent were part of Tidno ward was always an anomaly, and there was always confusion at election time because people would end up at the wrong polling station because they assumed they were part of Cragidon. So I certainly would support that movement of the boundary. I don't know what the local members involved say, but I'd be happy to go with happy to propose all the recommendations on page 45, Chair, together.
There we are. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you. So before Councillor Chris has proposed, Councillor Louise, thank you.
Well, just a second, really, Chris's proposals. Obviously, part of the boundary changes is in my ward, along with Harry and Mandy, and I think that makes perfect sense. So I'd like to second those proposals.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any other comments to make? We've had a proposer and a seconder. If not, then we'll move on to the vote to receive the recommendations as they are. So I'll ask Berwyn to open the vote, please. Everyone had the opportunity to vote? Yes.
Felly, ga I ofyn am
So, can we close the vote, please?
A dyna ni, felly 4.
And there we go, 42 in favour and 1 abstention. Thank you. So we'll move on to item 12, co-option of representatives from the Conwy Youth Council on overview and scrutiny committees. And again, can I ask Councillor Dilwyn to present this report? Thank you.
Callum Morrissey, is he present here today? And I don't know if he's listening in. But as you've seen from this report, it has gone to all 3 committees, and hang on, if I yeah, I'm on the right place, and I would like here to pay tribute to Callum as chair of the Youth Council. He's attended all 3 scrutiny committees and presented there and got the support, but also he was in a position where he would quite willingly answer questions that were asked of him, and I'm sure that you would all agree with me that it would only be right to congratulate Callum on the work he's doing as chair of the Youth Council and the way he presented himself here. He's a young lad still in school, and I'm sure we'll all wish him well in whatever path he chooses in the future. Diolch yn fawr am hynna.
All 3 scrutiny committees have been very supportive of what's in front of us, that a representative of the Youth Council be co-opted to these committees. In line with our constitution, the Economy and Place, Finance and Resources, and Social Care and Health Overview and Scrutiny Committees have considered the request and made similar recommendations to Council. If I could read the recommendations here and propose them as well, Chair, if I may, that a representative of the Youth Council be co-opted without voting rights as a member of all the Council's scrutiny committees. That's the first recommendation. As we're all aware, there's been a member sitting on the Education Committee in the past. Secondly, in 2.2, the recommendation is that the co-opted representative of the Youth Council should not take part as a member of the committee where the matter under discussion is an exempt item under Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act of 1972. And also, thirdly, there may need to be further explanation on this. As I've understood it, the member doesn't take part in exempt items on the scrutiny committees, but I don't know, does that need to be made formally today as a proposal? I'll call Matt Georgiou and then Councillor Julie. Matt first and then Julie.
Diolch, Dilwyn. I probably should have spoken to you actually. So I met with the Youth Council on Tuesday. A member representative from the Youth Council has sat on education scrutiny since 2019. And this hasn't been in place in terms of exempt items. So they raised with me on Tuesday that they would ask that we look at it on a case-by-case basis. So I wondered whether there was opportunity to use the chairs and vice chairs pre-meet to look at items and see whether chairs and vice chairs felt it was appropriate. I said I would raise that this morning. Sean, I don't know if you have an opinion, or perhaps Matt has an opinion on that. Because I put the argument to them why members had some concerns around some of the information that comes forward. Obviously, it is quite sensitive or it's contentious, and we don't want to put them in a position that puts pressure on them, certainly. Yeah. Callum he tried to sign in, but the link hasn't worked for him, so he's watching on YouTube. I've had a message from Rachel, the youth service lead. So yeah, I just want to put that to members, whether we have a discussion around that. It hasn't been an issue in terms of education for the last 6 years. Nothing has come up that's raised a red flag, but I appreciate there may be things at times. But for me, I think that's probably a fair way of dealing with it on a case-by-case basis, where chairs and vice chairs highlight if they think there's an item that perhaps would be more contentious, and maybe we don't want to put members of our youth council in that position, but that's up to members to discuss now. But I wanted to put their request forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'll call on Matt, please, to give an explanation.
Thank you, Chair. Ultimately, it's for council to decide. I suppose one observation, I think it's right to say there are probably less exempt matters that come to that particular committee than, for example, Finance, Resources Overview and Scrutiny Committee, or well, in fact, all the other three committees, I would think. So I suppose that's just something to bear in mind. But again, it's for the council to deliberate and think about that and ultimately make a decision.
Thank you very much. I'll call on Councillor Chris Hughes to speak, please.
I think you put it on and off. Just before you do so, just going to get the mewn.
Just before you come in, I'll just explain. I'll just call on Matt once again. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, I suppose before we have a debate, we probably do need a proposal, though. Yeah. I think that, as I'd understood it, Councillor Dilwyn had proposed paragraph 2.1 and paragraph 2.2. If in the first instance, if there is a second for those two things, then there can be a debate on that proposal. And if it is that is amended by somebody in the course of that debate, fine, we can deal with that in that way.
There we go, thank you. So Councillor Dilwyn has proposed 2.1 and 2.2, but I will as well, if it's help. It's not on, is it?
Oh, there.
There we go. I will be proposing the recommendations as they are in 2.3 as well, if it's of aid to you in the chair. I will be proposing that as well. So Councillor Dilwyn proposes all three recommendations, 2.1, 2.2 and 2.3. Matt's going to come back in.
2.2, that's fine and clear, but the 2.3 is that the council consider whether a restriction recommended as part of 2.2 should apply to the Education and Skills Scrutiny Committee. So it's whether or not you already have a view on that you want to put forward for that to be seconded, or whether we want to deal with the first two and revisit that.
That's fine. Yeah.
So we'll take the first two, first of all. 2.1 and 2.2. Councillor Abdul seconds that.
That's what I'm seeking clarity on. My understanding is, Chair, because we have had a great debate on Frost on that issues, and I think myself proposed and Councillor Hannah seconded me saying that they should be excluded on exempt item. For various reasons we're given, and members agreed then. And I think 2.3 comes out of that discussion, because the Education and Skills Scrutiny was the only committee that they allowed them to be in, if I'm correct. And if that's the case, then I would second Councillor Dilwyn on 2.1, 2.2 and 2.3 to take it as a block, rather than
well, to do things in an orderly manner, Councillor Dilwyn has proposed 2.1 and 2.2. I'm looking for someone to second that, and then we'll deal with 2.3 in a minute. Councillor Harry, willing to second? Yes, thank you. Okay, so we have recommendations in 2.1 and 2.2 to vote on. We'll deal with that first, and then we'll revisit 2.3 in due course and get the wording clear and have a discussion on that, if that's clear to all of you now. So we'll open the vote for 2.1 and 2.2 if no one has any other proposals. Okay. No one else wants to speak. Councillor Chris Hughes.
Chair, the system seems to be keep going down. I've put my mic on several times, but it doesn't seem to be recording. First brought this through the democratic process at the request of the Youth Council, which led to them being becoming members of the Education Scrutiny Committee. They were at that time keen to have been involved in all of the scrutiny activities. And I certainly attended several of the education committees in the early days when they were on there. And I didn't personally have a problem with them sitting in on exempt items. I felt they acted appropriately at all times. There was nothing that they, no evidence at all of any wrongdoing on their part. And I've spoken in at least 2 of the scrutiny committees with regards to them being able to attend exempt items of this council on the basis that each case was dealt with on its merits, because we all know that there's a significant difference in the various different reports that come to committee, some that are extremely confidential, that could be subject to legal cases, and some where the matter isn't particularly onerous, and immediately after the meeting and confirmation by cabinet, it will become public anyway, so that there wouldn't necessarily be anything that was inappropriate being discussed there. So, like Julie, I've always been an advocate for the Youth Council being able to sit in on as many meetings as possible, because I think they have a huge contribution to make to that process. And I don't know whether Julie was going to make an amendment to the original proposal, but I'm more than happy to, and I'm more than happy to have that debate, because I know I was involved with a kids' charity for many years, and we would often discuss things that were coming up on the council agenda and asking for the views of our local community. And they were very good in advocating for the things that they thought would benefit our communities. So I don't like the idea of excluding anybody from meetings. I think there are times when we have to, but I think there's been enough evidence over the time on the Education Scrutiny Committee to understand that they do have the ability to comply with that. I know people talked about peer pressure and things like that, but these are really intelligent young men and ladies, and I think they should be given the benefit of the doubt. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. I'll bring Matt Georgiou in once again to give us an explanation. Thank you, Matt.
No, it's just simply, Chair, on the proposal of an amendment there. I think how we might be best dealing with this is we can have a debate on the 2 things that are proposed, but then take the vote on those 2 things separately. And the reason that I say that is they are separate and distinct proposals. And the second one, which Councillor Chris has suggested or proposed an amendment, actually that would negate that motion entirely, because that is that the cooperative representative of the Youth Council should not take part. Essentially, the effect of removing the word "not" negates that entirely. So what we'd have to do is have a debate. Members may well have different views on that issue, but then we would be voting on the proposal not to include. And so those members who didn't agree with that would then vote against that. And if that was lost, we could then have a different proposal. I hope that makes sense.
Yep, diolch yn fawr.
Yes, thank you. I'll call now on Councillor Harry.
Yes, thank you, Chair. In the first instance, I'd be very happy to support the recommendation set out in 2.1 and 2.2. The area of concern I have very much is around the application of the Code of Conduct to non-statutory co-opted members. Now, I think this is covered in paragraph 3.7 of the report, where it says very clearly that the Code of Conduct would not apply to these co-optees. However, I acknowledge it does point out that they are encouraged to abide by the principles set out in the Code of Conduct, and they are asked to sign a statement saying that they will behave appropriately. But I'd like to understand just how robust that statement is. Now, the concern I would have is from time to time, committees or scrutiny committees will consider matters that may contain highly sensitive and privileged information that needs to be discussed in private. I appreciate that we would never want to discuss things in private as a council, but there are times when this needs to happen, and disclosure of that information could actually put this local authority at significant risk financially. And I think it's important to bear in mind, we talk about the council's resources, these are the public's resources. This is about being responsible with taxpayers' money. So, for example, if we had a difficult matter that we're considering regarding, say, the council's acquisition of a piece of property, and there were disagreements with that, we may, in a private committee, have legal advice shared with members. Now, if a member here were to go and disclose that, of course the council could take recourse very quickly via the Code of Conduct and the Public Services Ombudsman, and that is right and proper. But what would happen with co-optees that aren't bound by the Code of Conduct? I mean, in this instance, would we find ourselves in a frankly absurd situation where the local authority might want to consider taking legal action against children? I think it's frankly bonkers. So I think this matter needs to be considered. I think we probably shouldn't rush into this. As I've said, I'm very happy with the recommendations set out in 2.1 and 2.2 in the report, but I think any further deviation from that probably needs some further written guidance, I think, from the monitoring officer, the head of democratic services, or the chief executive. So those be my observations, Chair. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr. Na i alw rwan.
Thank you. I'll call now on Councillor David online.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think young people give valuable insight, to these committees, and I think we need to be mindful these are scrutiny committees. In the end, the cabinet takes the decisions. These are scrutiny committees, and I've always been in the opinion that far too much in this council, where the public and the press are excluded far too often, I've always expressed that view. So I would put my trust in young people, because I think someone that would do this and come onto a scrutiny would be very committed, and I think would be prepared to sign an agreement. They wouldn't disclose things that were discussed in meetings that are confidential. So I'd like to put my trust in young people, really, and that's my view. Thank you.
Diolch.
Thank you. Next to speak, Councillor Simon.
Yeah, I would like to propose that this decision on a case-by-case basis be taken by the individual scrutiny committee chairs in their pre-meeting. It's something, exempt items are something we consider in the pre-meeting anyway, and I think we should generally welcome the involvement of the youth representations, and they can really add a lot to our debate. And the only very, very few occasions when they need to be excluded from items need to be decided by the chairs. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you. Next, can I invite Councillor Gwendol? Thank you, Chair. As Chair of the Education and Skills Scrutiny Committee, of course, representatives of the Youth Council already sit on that committee. Not only Callum, but other members come to the meetings regularly as well. At the moment, we don't have many exempt items on the Education Committee, but thus far they have left that meeting because there's no protocol or we haven't we didn't know the rules, so they did go out. The only thing with the Education Committee is that you have other members on the committee that are not elected members as well. So I think if the Youth Council had to leave, that other people would have to leave as well. So in terms of fairness, I think it would be best to let the Youth Council members stay for the exempt items. I think that would be fairest for the Education Committee. Thank you. Okay, so we've had a proposal here. Before we move on, is anyone ready to second Councillor Simon? No? Councillor Chris? And what was said was a case-by-case basis to consider them each on a case-by-case basis. I'll bring Matt Giorgio in.
Yeah, so that can be dealt with in an amendment. Essentially, it's not negating the motion. It is proposing a different restriction or a period of consideration on a case-by-case basis. And ultimately then, that would be for the, if that's considered in for work programme by chairs and vice chairs, it would be that would then be a decision of the chair, I suppose, if that's what the proposal is. So it's just to make that clear that that's how that would work in practice. So first of all, we've had a mover and a seconder for an amendment. So Chair, are there any other speakers on in terms of the amendment itself?
Then I need. There we go. Is that clear? Do we have any other speakers? Councillor Dillwyn. Okay, thank you. Yes, we're talking here about, just to be clear now, we're talking about leaving it to the chair's discretion for all scrutiny committees or only the Education Committee? As I understood it, every committee, because the reason I've proposed the recommendations as they are, and that they are exempt, that they aren't included in exempt decisions, is because I'm aware, and I take into consideration as well, what the three scrutiny committees that have been dealing with this recently now, all three committees have voted in favour of exempting them from exempt items. And I'm certainly going to stick to those proposals and recommendations because I appreciate the debate that was had in those scrutiny committees, and I'd gone over to that side in terms of my opinion. So on the board we have the proposal of Councillor Dillwyn that they should not take part, and then there's been an amendment. Councillor Abdul wants to speak. Can I invite him to speak? Councillor Abdul. And Councillor Charlie wants to speak as well, and then Councillor David. And then we will be taking the amendment first, but the first to speak now is Councillor Abdul. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair. Yeah. So, if I can start again, I'm sorry, this is not my second language, this is my fifth language probably. That's why I'm having a bit difficult to understand. Right. 2.2 says that the co-opted representative of the Youth Council should not take part as a member of the committee where the matter under discussion is an exempt item under Section 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. And then it goes on to say 2.3 that if supported, the Council consider whether the recommended as part of 2.2 should also to the Educational Skill and Scrutiny Committee. Now, I was in I'm in a social service committee and on the FROST, and both committee we have decided that they will be excluded. We just taken a vote on code of conduct for the members, and it's quite strict now than it was before. Say if any breach, they got to face consequences. But as Harry put it elegantly, those children or young people hasn't got that punishment, or they shouldn't be. And Hannah also said why we should put them into that difficult debate we have, Chair, and we have had quite a few recently on behind the closed door, and our monitoring officer did advise us if it leaks, council will be greatly disadvantaged on it. And we're all for it because they are our future, but sometimes they probably get put off as well. So there's many reasons, and that's been and we have so far have come to that. And I thought it was going to be a straight vote and not have a debate on debate we already had. So I want to know if we take it as block. I still confused because 2.3, my understanding is that 2 of the scrutiny already agreed to exclude them from exempt item, but education didn't. So are we asking the education to do the same? In which case, it's a straightforward vote. If we're either for it or not. Can I please, for last time, ask the monetary officers to explain?
Thank you. I'll bring Matt Giorgio in now.
Yes, Chair. I can't promise it'll be the last time. What the Chair very sensibly proposed is that we deal with the first 2 first. So what we've had actually is a proposal for 2.1 and 2.2. There's been some debate on that, and then we have had a proposal to amend 2.2. So instead of outright saying youth representatives will never take part, that there is a case-by-case discussion on that at chairs and vice chairs, ultimately with the chair to have a decision on a case-by-case basis. And that relates to the 3 committees that don't currently have a youth representative. And once we've debated that fully and we've come to a decision, we can then consider what needs to be done, if anything, in respect of the Education and Skills Scrutiny Committee. I hope that's clear, Chair.
Thank you. I'll bring in Councillor Charlie.
Diolch Cadar, and congratulations to both you and Austin. I very much welcome the engagement with the Youth Council. I've had the pleasure of going to see them. They're very impressive. They've clearly been a valuable part of education scrutiny since October 2019. But we're going from 1 scrutiny committee to 4 here. And I think we need to proceed quite cautiously here. That's a big increase in the workload of the young individuals who are going to come along. I think there is a danger we're exposing them to issues that might be difficult, they might not, but we review our scrutiny function every year. So I think, this isn't a lifetime decision we're being asked to make here. I think we need to see how this goes and then see what the impact is of what could have happened or what the membership was, what the engagement is. And if there's then an appetite amongst the different scrutiny committees that actually, on balance, it would have been better if they were here, we would have enjoyed their input or benefit from input, then we can look at making those decisions again. But I think that gradual approach is better than things going wrong and then going, we should go back a bit, Chair. So diolch.
Thank you. I'll call on Councillor Anne, who has a point of order.
In this meeting because of the system crashing me out and obviously me not being able to hear. So my point of order is, I thought we had taken a vote on Councillor Dilwyn's first 2 recommendations, and I thought the vote had sort of been finalised. Obviously it wasn't confirmed, so I'm a bit confused, and I don't know if it's just me because I've been intermittently in and out of the meeting. So have we taken a vote already, but then allowed for discussion to take place despite the vote having been taken, which I don't think is appropriate if that's the case. So a point of clarity. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. The vote was opened, but it wasn't closed because there was a speaker waiting to come in for quite some time. So the vote was not taken for us to confirm that. Thank you. Next to speak is Councillor David online.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think I've got the clarity that I wanted. Just to reinforce that, we are voting on an amendment that will allow the chairs to discuss which items that the young people that are members of the scrutiny committee will be allowed to attend or not attend. But that wouldn't include the education committee. We're going to have a separate vote on that. Is that correct?
Indeed.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Diolch.
Thank you. Next to speak is Councillor Julie.
Thank you. And thank you. I did say to the Youth Council that I would raise this morning so that we had the opportunity to hear from them, which is what we've said we'll do. We'll be open, transparent, and I assured them that we would have the opportunity to discuss this morning. So I thank you, and I fully understand and appreciate the different views and perspectives, and I'm not leaning massively in one way or the other really, but I think what Councillor Charlie said is quite appropriate. We can review this going forward, so perhaps we do look at this. They are going from one scrutiny committee to 4. I have spoken to them and said that it will make sense for them to have a look at the forward work plan to see what they felt was more appropriate for them to take part in, because obviously their time is incredibly important. So they are going to look at agendas going forward and pick what they feel they can contribute to. But yes, I just wanted to say thank you really, and that perhaps this is revisited if this isn't a case of people feeling it's appropriate to go straight in to all 4. Thank you.
Next, Councillor Cheryl. Thank you.
Diolch, Chair, and congratulations to you and to Councillor Austin. Just coming in on that as the Chair of Finance and Resources, I think the debate came to us, Callum came and spoke absolutely excellently, and it's quite clear our future is going to be in safe hands if it's young people like him, coming through. In Frosk, it came on the same day as the Mochtra Communist Park debate, and I think it was Councillor Hannah, when she was still a member of Frosk, raised it as a safeguarding issue, that a young person could be put in the position whereby they could be asked for extremely sensitive commercial information that would have a huge impact on the council. So I just wanted to raise, as the Chair of Finance and Resources, that's why our committee came to that decision to safeguard the young person, and that's why we came to that decision. So diolch.
Diolch.
Thank you. Next to speak, Councillor Andrew online.
Thank you, Chair. Cheryl's just summed it up, taking my line. Safeguarding young members that are active in this role. Obviously, the scrutiny committees have already decided which way that they think that it should have happened, and they are people that are at these committees monthly, basically. So I would agree with your sentiments, Chair. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you very much. We have no other speakers. Yes, we have Councillor David is going to come back very briefly, please, Councillor David, and then we'll have Councillor Gwennell.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I'd just like members to be mindful that we have a county council leader in Southern England, a 19-year-old that is a council leader in Southern England. I think young people do need to be trusted. If young people can vote at 16 now, and they'll be voting next year in the Senate elections, then I think, at this argument about safeguarding, I don't get it really. If young people can vote and can be leader of councils as teenagers, then they should be trusted to be able to attend committees and to be able to participate and to listen and to come to a decision on it, and to be trusted as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gwennell Ellis. Thank you, Chair. I know that it was meant to be the next point, but again here, I'd like to propose now that we have the same order for all committees, so that the Youth Council members are excluded from exempt items from all 4 committees, just to have consistency. As I say, they do leave anyway in education, so it's not a problem. But just to get consistency across all 4. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll take that afterwards. We'll deal with what we have on the board first and deal with that afterwards. I am eager now to move forward with this. We have Councillor Gronwy that hasn't spoken, and then plenty have had the opportunity to speak, and then so we will move on to the vote. So Councillor Gronwy first.
I've listened carefully to the discussion in today's meeting and in scrutiny meetings, and I can't understand why we'd want to expose young people to the risk of being challenged by outside bodies to disclose information that may well be of a very sensitive nature. Now, I've been a councillor here now since the conception of this authority, and I've had to go through numerous amounts of training with code of conduct and all the other things. So to ask a young person to take on that responsibility without that sort of training and without that sort of background, I think would be onerous on any young person to do that. So I would be very reluctant for young people to have to carry the burden of exempt, very confidential, sometimes very sensitive information.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much. Right, so I'm going to take the amendment first. An amendment has been proposed by Councillor Simon and seconded by Councillor Chris. And Councillor Simon, do you want to explain once again what the amendment was?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The amendment is that young people be allowed to attend my headphones. Attend items which are normally considered exempt with the discretion of the chairman of that particular scrutiny committee as taken in the pre-meeting with advice from all the other councillor colleagues. That's simply it. I know people have said that decisions have been taken in previous scrutiny committees that this should not happen, but certainly I think there's a good precedent for the full council to override those views. I think it's a decision that the full council should make, really, not individual scrutinies.
Thank you very much. So we're going to open the vote then for that amendment, the amendment to Councillor Dillon's proposal. So I'm going to open the vote on the amendment. Everyone had the opportunity to vote. Thank you. Can we close the vote, please, Bedwin? And there we go. 6 in favour and 33 against and 3 abstentions. So we'll go back now to the original proposal from Councillor Dillwyn and seconded by Councillor Harry. Will Councillor Dillwyn please outline the proposal again? I'll repeat it once again as they are in the recommendations in the report on page 78 under 2.1 and 2.2, that a representative of the Youth Council be co-opted without voting rights as a member of all the Council's scrutiny committees. And 2.2, that the co-opted representative of the Youth Council should not take part as a member of the committee where the matter under discussion is an exempt item under Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. Thank you. There we go, that's clear. Do we have any amendments to the proposal in front of us? No. There we go. Is there anyone that hasn't spoken that wishes to speak on the matter? No. Okay, so we'll open the vote, please. Thank you. Everyone had the opportunity to vote. So we'll close the vote, please. So 41 in favour and 1 abstention. Thank you. And thanks for the discussion. That's why we're here, to discuss in detail. Right, 2.3 now, to be clear. If Councillor Dilwyn outlines that for us as well. Thank you, Chair. As it says in 2.3, that if supported, well, the previous two have been supported, so we ask that Council consider whether the restriction recommended as part of 2.2, which is that members of the Youth Council are excluded from exempt items, that should also apply to the Education and Skills Scrutiny Committee as well. Can I propose, for consistency, and so that there's no misunderstanding from the Youth Council or any scrutiny committee, that we place that exclusion, that they are excluded from the Education and Skills Committee as well. And as Councillor Charlie has already said, there is an opportunity, there's always an opportunity to reconsider this in future. But I do strongly believe, for consistency, that we should exclude them from the Education and Skills Committee as well. Only, of course, in exempt items, from exempt items. Thank you. There we go. So I'm looking for a seconder, and Councillor Gwennol seconds that proposal. So does anyone else wish to speak before we move on to the vote? Councillor Chris Hughes. I think, Councillor Chris, that you're switching it off when trying to speak, so you're knocking yourself out. There we go.
For the past 6 years, members of the Youth Council sitting on this committee have, under the Constitution, been allowed to stay in for those meetings. We've allowed it. Now, it may be that some people didn't understand that ability existed, but certainly in the early years of this committee, of the Youth Council representation on that committee, they stayed in those meetings because the Constitution allowed them. We're actually asking Council to take away a right that we have provided with these young people for the past 6 years. And let's not forget, we still have the ability to say that on a case-by-case basis on this committee, the chair can exclude people if they believe there is a something that they should not be part of. I don't understand, and I didn't understand before, why we can say yes to them being on this committee for the past 6 years, but no to the other committees. I find that strange. But why we would even contemplate taking away a right that they already have, I find that really difficult to understand, and I'm sure they will too.
Thank you. Next to speak is Councillor David, and at this point, I'll only invite you to speak now. Only invite you once on this point. Councillor David.
I think Councillor Chris is absolutely right. It's very much a backward step. And if we look over the last 6 years, we've now got young people, 16-year-olds, voting in the Senate elections next May. We have, as I said previously, we've got a teenager who is the leader of a council in Southern England. So I think it's very much a backward step to actually take something away from young people that was previously sort of agreed to under our constitution. So I very much agree with Councillor Chris, and I'll be opposing this. We should. It's small steps, really, and the Education Committee is the first step. And I think that the fact that they participate in those meetings, and there hasn't been any problems over the last 6 years. I say this to Councillor Dilwyn, he's not actually sort of said in the last 6 years when young people have attended Education Committee and participated fully, has there been any problems? No. So I think we should actually continue with the Education Committee as it is, and young people attend from the Youth Council and fully participate in that committee. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you. Next to speak, Councillor Simon.
Yeah, diolch cadeirydd. Yeah, I can understand councillors voting against my amendment, but I would point out that we've now voted to override individual scrutiny committees, except on this item on education. So I do not agree with Councillor Dilwyn that we should have a consistent approach and override the education scrutiny committee, who in their wisdom have not seen to exclude youth representatives from exempt items. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr. Nesa.
Thank you. Next, Councillor Harry.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think the point actually made by Councillor Chris Hughes on the specific point is actually important. Of course, with the other three scrutiny committees, we're making a decision on what should happen where there currently aren't these non-statutory co-optees. With the Education and Skills Committee, they do currently sit on that committee. So I think that there is a point there that is actually worth considering. What I'd find helpful to understand, I think what I've been led to understand so far is, in theory, in the Constitution, those non-statutory co-optees on that committee are able to remain and participate in exempt items. However, we've heard from the current chair of that committee that isn't normal custom and practice at present. I'm conscious, I believe Councillor Hannah Fleet was the chair of that committee previously, so perhaps she might be able to provide us with some guidance. I think it would be useful to know and be very clear on how the committee operates in practice, and if this is a case of some constitutional tidying up, we can address that. I'd be grateful for some guidance on that, perhaps from the monitoring officer and perhaps Councillor Fleet and Councillor Ellis. Thank you.
Diolch.
Thank you. I'll bring Matt Georgiou in.
I would need somebody else to help me with in practice, because it's not something I personally come across in terms of the committee. But I'm sure, of course, that what Councillor Gwennell's correct about that. But I don't know if prior to Councillor Gwennell being part of the committee, there was a different custom and practice. So perhaps we can come on to that, Chair. But just in terms of the other matter, essentially, when the co-option was originally made, there was no such restriction. So that's the position now. Now, if it is the case that despite there being no specific restriction, as has happened today in respect to the other three committees, that in practice that's never actually happened, and that as a matter of custom and practice, youth members have been asked to vacate the chamber or virtually. I can see, Chair, that Sean can help me with this issue, which is good. But essentially, if that's what's happened, then obviously that will be relevant to some of the things that members have been discussing in respect of Education and Skills Committee.
Thank you. I'll bring in Sean.
Diolch, Cadeirydd. What's happened in the past? So the non-statutory co-opted members have been allowed to stay in for exempt items. The item that Councillor Gwennell, I think, is recollecting is that particular non-statutory co-opted member had to declare an interest in that item and had to leave the council chamber. So they didn't leave because it was an exempt item, they left because they had a declarable interest.
There we go, thank you. And the last one to speak I have now is Councillor Abdul.
Help again, Chair. Yes, firstly, I do like to congratulate this young 19 years old leader of the council in south of England, because, yeah, I mean, well done to him, but there's a lot of burden, and his youth obviously has gone, because I had black hair and shaved when I came in. I'm gone grey now, and I blame the council, but I enjoyed that challenge. So yeah, be careful, members, colleagues. I seen youth revelation in abroad. Their youth is being robbed. But here in UK, especially in Wales, we are responsible for our youngsters. Only give what they can take. You have to grow up with the age and mature. I'm not saying they know, some of them are, but it's a tremendous burden. And just because we made, wrong in past doesn't mean we can carry on with the wrongs. Some things that we have done or education committee has done in past, and now coming in light, we think it needs amending. We should do it and not say, well, precedent has been set. So, yeah, we're just creating more work for us. If we vote to say, yeah, chair and vice chair will decide, and then three committees not going to have it, so continuity is important, and that's why I'll be supporting Councillor Dillon's proposal. I'd like to second that, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much. So, to be clear now, we have a proposer and a seconder. We have a proposer and a seconder from Councillor Dilwyn and Councillor Harry seconding that. No, it was Councillor Gwennell. Apologies. So we have no other proposals that have come forward. So we're going to vote on Councillor Dilwyn's proposal. Do you want to hear that once more, to be clear? Councillor Dilwyn, would you just tell us once again that the council consider whether the restriction recommended as part of 2.2 should also apply to the Education and Skills Scrutiny Committee. I have proposed, Chair, that it is pertinent for consistency and so that we have the same process across all four committees. There we go, thank you. So can we open the vote, please?
Dyna ni, pawb wedi...
There we go. Everyone's had the opportunity to vote. We'll close the vote. And 34 in favour, 5 against, and 2 abstentions. Thank you very much. Moving on then to item 13, Annual Overview and Scrutiny Report 24-25. And Councillor Dilwyn will present this report and the recommendations on page 85. Thank you, Councillor Dilwyn. Thank you very much. And everyone will be glad to hear that this is the last time today that I'm going to speak. The Council's Overview and Scrutiny Committees must report annually to Council on their work with recommendations for their future work programme and amended working methods if appropriate. And that does happen here. The report provides an overview of the scrutiny function in Conwy County Borough Council, as well as the work undertaken by each of the Overview and Scrutiny Committees during 2024, the year 2024-2025. Whilst this year's annual report continues to reflect on the work undertaken during the year, the report also provides feedback from the review of the Overview and Scrutiny function, which took place between December 2024 and May 2025. It's a very good report. It reads well and very comfortably, and I want to thank Shan and her team for all the work that they do to bring this forward in front of us. There is one point in the report that we've read. The report from the Scrutiny Committee chairs, they've thanked and given their appreciation to everyone apart from themselves. And I now am going to thank them, the chairs of the respective committees, for the work they do and for their for working together with members and the way they cooperate and work together with officers and members. And I think that reflects in turn that our presence, that our attendance is very good in committees. So can I move on to the recommendation on page 85? Has this been through the scrutiny committee? Yes, it has it? Yes. Okay, so it's just 2.2 that we are discussing today, is it? And voting on. So I propose then, subject to consideration of the Finance and Resources Overview and Scrutiny Committee's recommendation, the Finance and Resources Scrutiny Committee, that Council approve the annual overview and scrutiny report for 2024-2025. Can I once again give my thanks to our officers, which bring this report in front of us. Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Councillor Dilwyn proposed there. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Austin, thank you. So, does anyone want to make any comments or proposals? Then can I open the vote, please? Can we close the vote, please? Thank you. So 39 in favour, no one against, and no abstentions. Thank you. Thank you all. So we'll move on to the final item, which is item 14. So those who have declared an interest, would you please leave, and thank you. Council tax premiums on long-term empty homes and second homes. There we go. And I'll invite Councillor Chris, the Cabinet Member for Finance and Strategic Planning, to lead us through this report. Thank you.
Just marking there it. So yes, this is the council tax premiums on long-term empty homes and second homes, which has been an extensive report in front of you, and it follows careful consideration by our Affordable Housing Council Tax Premium Working Group, the Finance and Resources Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and then Cabinet last week. So the various options, together with their potential implications, were considered by the working group in making their final recommendations. Trends have been analysed in the numbers relative to each category, particularly since our council increased the premiums from April this year. I will remind council that in addition to generating additional revenue of an estimated net of 5.519 million in 25-26, the levelling of the premium is intended to be a positive tool contributing to, firstly, bringing long-term empty homes back into use, and there's been a reduction by over 23% in the last 12 months, and I commend the work of the Empty Homes Evaluation Group, which includes officers from various council departments, partner agencies and elected members. It has also increased the supply of affordable housing. Hopefully it's enhanced the sustainability of local communities and helped meet local housing needs. But, Chair, as I did at Cabinet, I'm going to point out the negatives too if the premium is set too high, and these are firstly the effect on avoidance and reduced collectability. I think we need to take that into consideration. The significant additional administrative responsibility, and the risks to the council tax base as the premium gets charged at a higher rate. Uncertainty surrounds transfers in and out of NDR exceptions, and the general collectability heightens. Council tax, as we know, forms about 30% of the overall funding of this council. Many respondents to the consultation have commented that second home owners contribute to the local economy. That's when they occupy their property, and there is a risk to destabilise the housing market. Isolating the impact on tourism specifically also remains challenging. So we know, Chair, that there is a balance to be struck between the policy benefits and the resulting financial consequences, and we must be sensitive to unintended consequences developing. I refer to 3.10 of the report, which examines the public consultation on the premiums which we undertook during July. The results have been well debated already and can be found on pages 172 to 223 of the pack in front of you. Basically, opposition to higher second-hand premiums has grown. You would expect that. Support for targeting long-term empty properties remains, but with calls for more flexibility and support, and economic and social concerns are more prominent, and many want a more evidence-based approach. Members will be aware that effective from 1st April 2023, the minimum period for a property to be classified as non-domestic was raised from 70 days to 182 days. This is controversial, many now think this is too high, but this is in Welsh Government legislation. It's not up to us to alter that. There is a Welsh Government consultation presently taking place on proposed flexibility changes, but this will not conclude until the 20th of November, the end of next month. I would resist us ourselves adopting any flexibility measures now. One of those would be for a grace period for holiday lets moving back into council tax. That's just one example. So I would resist that until this process of consultation has been accomplished. As I said at Cabinet, we could bring a separate paper through democracy early in 2026 to deal with this, and many members welcome this possible option. In the meantime, I think we need to ensure some stability by keeping the premium uplifts steady for the next 2 financial years. And I would like us to look at the recommendation, which is on page 115. So that's 2.31 to 2.34. And I propose that Council should approve these today. With your permission, Chair, if I could read out the recommendations just to be absolutely clear. So 2.31 is to retain the 150% council tax premium for second homes for the financial years 2026-27 and also 2027-28. So that's for the next 2 financial years. 2.32 has that we retain the current 200% council tax premium for long-term empty homes for the financial years 2026-27 and 27-28. Then we go to the third part, which is retaining the current 300% council tax premium for long-term empty homes that have been empty for 5 years or more, and that is again for the next 2 financial years, 2026-27 and 27-28. The last part is just that we don't opt to apply a discount in respect of second homes and holiday homes and long-term unoccupied unfurnished properties in the prescribed classes A, B and C for the financial year of 2026-2027. So I move that, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much, Councillor Chris Cater. Councillor Chris proposed that. Do we have anyone to second? Thank you, Councillor Neer. Seconding. Next to speak is Councillor Chris Hughes.
I've been a member of this. I've been a member. There you go. I've been a member of this committee since it first started, and I've served as both the chair and the vice chair. And we have always been very conscious of the fact that we didn't want to rush into things. We didn't want to be first. We wanted to be right. And I believe that wherever possible, we have achieved that. I think it's right to be prudent and cautious at this moment. There's significant evidence that the current position is working. Properties are starting to come back into use. I think there's an awful lot of work at the moment having to be undertaken by council tax officers in terms of reviewing those properties, ensuring they are taxed at the right rate, but also identifying those properties that may have slipped under the net over the past few years. I think when we look at the figures, we have hundreds of Conway residents living in bed and breakfast and temporary accommodation. But we also find that 3/4 of those paying a premium have properties in bands A, B and C, the affordable categories of housing that would otherwise be housing those people who were paying to live in bed and breakfast. It seems an absurd situation that we as a council are paying to keep people in bed and breakfast type accommodation and in other forms of temporary accommodation, whilst tourists to our area are living in those homes, but for large periods of time those homes are empty and are not contributing to our local community. So I'm very happy to second Chris's proposals. I think it's important that we don't go so far that we end up causing more problems for ourselves. And I think it's clear at the moment that there's evidence that the project is working, and we need to see how that evolves, because the last thing we want to do is create problems that actually undo all the good work that's happening at the moment. So, as I say, I'm very happy to second Chris's proposals. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. The next to speak is Councillor Anne online.
Just wait for it to change.
Councillor Chris, I'm just like to thank you for a very, very balanced, if not sharp, sort of presentation that reinforced both the sort of positives and potentially clarified the risks. I mean, I'm particularly grateful for the fact that I think quite a considerable amount of consideration has been given to the presentation at FROSC by Mr. Pritchard, who was calling for flexibilities. And I would thank you for your restatement that you're intending to bring an early report back to scrutiny following the Welsh Government their consultation. If we can rely on that early report following the closure of the Welsh Government consultation, I'm certainly supportive of this. But I would just remind members that Pembrokeshire County Council, I think, has rowed back on their premiums, and that's because they think the risks outweigh the monies that they have been collecting. So there's certainly a case for deeper dive into the detail of the impact of high fees. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much. The next to speak is Councillor Louise.
So yeah, thank you for all the comments so far. I mean, Chris, we may not have been the first, but I certainly don't think we are right on this one. Empty homes, okay, 5 years we're having an empty home. I think then you need to consider what's going on. So I'm not going to really focus on empty homes. It's more about what Anne was saying about the self-catering businesses and the impact it's having. Our visitors have got to stay somewhere, and we don't have enough accommodation in terms of caravan parks or campsites or hotels or any other form of accommodation that's not a self-catering property. We need to have more accommodation for our visitors, and this premium is having such an effect on our tourism industry. If you actually speak to the different tourism industry bodies, you'll see what an impact it is having. And let's not forget, particularly in the rural economy, we have two forms of industry: agriculture and tourism. And the thought that young people want to stay in their area, in their local area, they can only stay in that local area if there is work, if they have a job, if they have income in order to pay the rent or to raise money for a deposit. We are looking at a short-term money grab at the long-term future of the tourism industry, and we're just not getting it. Pembrokeshire gets it. That's why they've reduced it to 125%. We're just looking at how we can solve our budget crisis. And remember, the money at the moment, it's not going towards affordable housing. It's going towards emergency housing. So it's not having the impact that we want it to have at the moment. You just can't collect enough tax off people to put into affordable housing. So I really think that this is a retrograde step, and I think we should be following Pembrokeshire and reducing it to 125% until the 182 comes down. And this Welsh Government consultation, all it means is you've got 3 years to spread out your 182, and they're asking businesses to give 2 weeks away for free to charities. Well, businesses can't afford to do that. And when I say businesses, these are Welsh people. The majority of self-catering units are owned by local people that live within half an hour drive, or indeed it's next door to them. So I think we've got this wrong, but obviously I'm going to be in the minority here. And I think we should be reducing it to 125% like Pembrokeshire. Thank you.
Next to speak is Councillor Simon.
Sorry, Chair. I was just going to second the motion as agreeing with Chris, Councillor Chris. I think we do have to stick with this policy.
Lovely. Okay.
Because it does seem to be working. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to speak, Councillor Harry.
Yeah, I am now. Fantastic. Yes, look, thank you, Chair. I also wanted to touch on the broader economic impacts of this. I think the reference to the Welsh Government's 182-day threshold for self-catering businesses has already been alluded to. I don't think we can actually understate the damage that this is causing to that part of our hospitality sector. If you look at PASC, an industry body that represents self-catering businesses, they found that 47% of businesses in Wales that find themselves in the position where they have to pay domestic rates find they operate at a loss. Now, I don't think you have to be a business person or have a great amount of business acumen to understand that a business operating at a loss is not a viable business. It's just for the birds. It just isn't practical. I think another concern we certainly have to look at with this is not just the effect on those businesses, but the other businesses in the supply chain. Hospitality doesn't just affect or doesn't just exist on its own. There are a range of other businesses, whether or not they're laundrettes, professional services like accountancy services, or caterers that support those, and they create jobs in their communities, and that contributes significantly to our local economy. Now, when I was reading the covering report of this, I was initially delighted to see that it had feedback from 3 cabinet members. Obviously, the cabinet member responsible for finance. This is a financial matter for this authority. The cabinet member responsible for housing, because again, it's a housing matter. And the cabinet member responsible for our local economy. I was really disappointed reading the comments, though, that within the comments from the cabinet member responsible for the local economy, there's nothing about the local economy. It seems to be a blind spot for this authority. Now, I will give the Cabinet member the benefit of the doubt. I'd note that her comments do begin with, I've recently taken over this portfolio and have received a handover from the previous Cabinet member. But this simply isn't good enough. I appreciate the points made by the Cabinet member for Finance that a further report on the impacts of this on our local economy is due to come early in the next calendar year. Well, for greatest of respect, this isn't a new problem. It has been affecting the self-catering sector for months now, and I would have expected a far greater awareness from this council, particularly as it's a body that prides itself on economic development. I would have expected a far greater awareness around this issue and more detail included within the agenda. I can see in the agenda we've got a planning paper that talks about how we try and look at the planning aspects of self-catering properties, and that's all fine and well, but it doesn't actually address the issue here that this is contributing to really damaging a significant part of our tourism sector locally, and it's something that, to my mind, shouldn't be supported. Thank you, Chair.
Diolch. Thank you. Next to speak is Councillor David online.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I absolutely support the policy, and the policy is working. And as Councillor Chris said, we have the absurd situation where empty homes, people are coming to stay, visiting here in empty homes, and yet hotel places are being taken by homeless people. It's not right, and I think this policy is beginning to have an effect. And for Councillor Louise, I just say there are young people from our rural areas that just can't, having to move away, qualified young people, because they can't actually get accommodation in the villages where they were brought up. And I think there are far too many sort of empty homes or holiday lets in our rural villages. And it's had loads of knock-on effects. We're closing village schools down, and that is just one of the effects we're having. So I think there needs to be sort of look at both sides. I think we need to look at both sides of this, really. That we are spending now 6 to 7 times more on homelessness than we were spending a few years ago. I mean, we really have to get our people into homes. That's got to be our priority, really. Obviously, I do support the tourist trade. Do want people to come to stay here, but possibly, preferably in hotels, and that we get our young people, particularly young people with children, into homes, not into bed and breakfast. Thank you.
Thank you. Last to speak now is Councillor Charlie.
Diolch Cadeirydd. Just there's been a few mentions of Pembrokeshire. I think just to clarify, their rate was 200%, and they voted to reduce it to 150%. So that's the same rate that's been proposed by this authority. I also welcome the fact that the proposal is to do that for 2 years. We've in order to have the possibility of raising it, you have to, vote to it 12 months in advance, which has created a lot of disquiet that we were going to keep raising things up. I agree the 182 days is an issue. For me, it should be more like 130, 140 to distinguish from second homes and self-catering businesses, but it's Welsh Government that sets that, and we have responsibility to our young people and our homelessness problem. And as Councillor Chris says, around 50% of second homes are council tax A, B, C. So on that basis, I'm very supportive of the work that the Task and Finish group did, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Andrew Wood.
Very briefly, Chair, I'm in the minority because I would like to see it increase to 200%, but I will be guided by the Task and Finish group. Just a few facts for you. You're talking about over the last few years, nearly 500 long-term empty properties been reduced and entered back into the market. People have actually enjoyed or bought or renting this type of property. We've also stopped what was a bit of a plague of people buying properties in Conway as second homes. So they're actually adding to the second home problem. This has sort of reduced it. The amount of second homes is falling slowly, not as quick as possibly we might like. But the third thing is that this policy, although it was not meant to raise money, in some ways, has gone from £400,000 of collection to 5.5 million, which goes towards various housing projects. I'm very proud of what the Task and Finish group have done, and you can see through those figures it is working extremely well. I will leave it at that. I would like to see it carry on as it is, but let's do this pause for now. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much. The last one to speak now, to come back very briefly, if she will, Councillor Louise, and then I am going to ask you to vote on all the recommendations separately for clarity. But firstly, Councillor Louise.
Diolch. I'll be quick. I'm just reading off the Pembrokeshire County Council website where it says from the 1st of April 2026, second home premium will be 125%.
Dyna ni.
And there we go. Okay, so I'll read these as they are now, and then we're going to vote on each one separately for clarity. So 2.3.1, 2.1, that the Finance and Resources Overview and Scrutiny Committee scrutinises. Oh, apologies. It's getting a bit long. So we'll go to 2.3.1, retain the current 150% council tax premium for second homes for financial years 2026-27 and 2027-28. So we're going to open the vote on that. 2.3.1, thank you.
Pawb wedi pleidleisio?
Everyone voted, thank you. We'll close the vote. And there we are, 23 in favour, 2 against and 8 abstentions. The next one then is 2.3.2. Retain the current 200% council tax premium for long-term empty homes for financial years 2026-27 and 2027-28. 2.3.2. So we'll vote. We can open the vote, please. Everyone voted, so we'll close the vote, please. 25 in favour, 1 against, 7 abstentions. Thank you. Next, 2.3.3, retain the current 300% council tax premium for long-term empty homes that have been empty for 5 years or more for financial years 2026-27 and 2027-28. 2.3.3. So we'll open the vote, please. Everyone had the opportunity to vote. We'll close it, please. Thank you. So 26 in favour, 2 against and 4 abstentions. And lastly then, 2.3.4. Continue to not apply a discount in respect of second homes and holiday homes and long-term unoccupied and unfurnished properties in the prescribed classes A, B and C for the financial year 2026-27. 2.3.4. We can open the vote, please. There we go. We'll close the vote. So 26 in favour, no one against and 5 abstentions. And that's it. Can I thank you all very much, officers and members, and a good afternoon to you all.